Hello, friends. So it's Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend, and there's another interesting chart this morning. You know, when I took my first shot of it this morning, took my first image of it, the whole chart had not updated for Sunday. For some reason, it was like a day behind, and then thankfully, before I started recording, I checked the chart again, and the whole day popped up. So yay! Now we can talk about this trend, which is a continuation of what I have been seeing. Now, I'm going to make this video a shorter one. So if you want more in depth, I went into a lot of these topics in depth in my last video about the dark and the light reasserting their plans. Okay. And so now I'm just going to touch on it. And if you want more on these topics, you can go to that video. But this is what I want to narrowly focus in on today, and then I want to give you a little inspiration at the end. Here it is. We've talked in the past about how these frequencies here happen to coincidentally also be in the frequency range, okay, of the hertz range of human brain waves. And what I want to show you today, and I went through this in a lot more depth, but I want to show it on the last video, but here's what I want to show you, okay? Now, if you go to 40 hertz, okay, and let's come up, this is from today, the bars here, and it's funny because what I did was I made them really big, and I was thinking, what does that look like? And the image of a pitchfork came up, and you know what pitchforks are used for? Rawr! They're to get the devil. So anyway, let's look here. Oh shoot! Now I saw this earlier, of course, before I started filming. Now let's see here. Here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for where the red starts, and I'm just going to tell you it was at 24. There it is. Okay, right there. Okay, so let's go across and look at ta-da. Da, 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 da. La 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 la. Okay, and there's 24. See, told you. Okay, now I'm just going to get to the punchline here, since I want to make this video kind of a synopsis. What I pointed out was that these sort of bars of frequency that keep occurring, and they were occurring at kind of 1300 hours in the chart, but it's like this one shifted a little bit forward to close to 15. But what I pointed out was that the red is coming into the higher brain waves, and specifically alpha, low beta, but now high beta, okay? So they're in beta and high beta, and usually it takes like a big huge wave of white resonance, and then you'll see the red go to these levels. But what I wanted to explain to you was what I see this what I see this as is essentially a sign of what's called the Great Awakening. And it just appears, and so this is Sunday, this is Saturday, and let me show you the chart before this. Here, you have it here, here, that's Saturday, and then today. So, and then right before the 26th here, which was Thanksgiving here, on the 25th, we had the end of the technological effect for a period of time. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in another video, but it appears to me that most recently, since September 12th, when the technological effect has paused, it's felt to me like a negotiation was taking place. I really have only my intuition to explain that. I feel like there's a negotiation behind the scenes. I'll talk to you more about that on another video, because right now what I want to explain is this idea of the activities of the forces of darkness, okay? And just because they, so these act through human beings, okay? And we have dark and light within all of us, okay? Because we're kind of, this is shadow aspect of our personality, but sometimes we see that out in the world as criminality, or, the bad guys doing something, and on and on. And so, post-election here in the United States, there is a massive amount of revelations. It's just every day it's something new about things that people have done that appear to be unlawful and possibly even criminal. And I'm not saying anything about anyone in specific here, just as a general trend of energy, that is what you're seeing. And this election, of course, affects the entire world. And I was thinking that these also are almost like swords, right? So the high beta brainwaves. Okay, so let me just explain about the beta brainwaves, because for the red to be coming into, first of all, alpha is our awakening state, so they definitely came into alpha. But to move then from low beta into beta brainwaves, 15 to 22 hertz, is high engagement in your living life, right? Actively figuring something out. And we are all doing that. We're all able to observe around us clues about activities that have been going on, and we're figuring this out. We're saying, oh my God, like these things have been happening below the radar, and we weren't aware of them. And then high beta is highly complex thought, integrating new experiences, high anxiety or excitement. And what's really interesting is integrating new experiences. Like this is becoming, that to me, that's what this is showing here and here today. Okay, now this is the first time that it's turned into three, that the sort of the horizontal line that come across the chart, not horizontal, vertical, has turned into three together here, and it has that pitchfork effect. And I think we are seeing, we're at the complex thought level. We've integrated that and accepted that in our reality, there have been bad people doing bad things for years, and they got away with it, and we didn't know. And one of the most shocking things about this is that regular people were involved, and this is a lot of people that we're talking about. And it can be shocking to realize that this many people engaged in activity that was unethical and potentially unlawful. The lawyers and the judges and all that, they'll figure that out. But just as a cursory observation, that seems to be what it is. And I did a previous video about where I talked about what happens when we hear no evil, see no evil, and speak no evil. I went into great depth on it. It was about 2 videos ago. It's listed down below. And it was actually, I think it was a really good video. And I explained how 2 systems of justice could exist in a scenario where we refuse to recognize what is true because we don't want to shine a light into the dark places in our lives or in our societies. Well, it's all out in the open right now. It's clearly, okay, come not just in the alpha waves, okay, but it came into our beta waves, our mid range, and now our high beta range in here, sort of. And so we are getting it. And I think this is good news, because if you want to change a system, and by change a system, gosh, what am I trying to say here? I don't really want to change a system. I want to get back to the truth of what is. And it's really more of a restoration, right? The forces of darkness have been trying to change a system, and change a system away from our alignment with the divine within, take it away from its true nature. And if I just think about the United States Constitution, which is a document, right, that was basically founded with and written in to, for example, the Declaration of Independence, is this concept of natural law where we have God-given rights. And our government here in the United States is built on that. Well, the forces at work in this country, there are forces that have been trying to get us away from those documents that and they've been cheating, and they've been cheating to such an extent that it's finally become visible. Now, I don't want to get into political commentary, but I think that in general that's that's what I see. And that's just the main point that I want to make here about the Schumann today, is that now these bars, these vertical bars, it also occurred to me to think of them as a sword, because we can't address evil, we can't address activities that are wrong or unethical or whatever it is, unless we've seen them occurring. But when we see them, that's when the sword of justice can be utilized and wielded. And we have clearly, now that they have come into our awareness at the high beta levels, we have clearly seen them. Now, I want to switch to talk for a minute about an energy discussion. Okay, so here's what I wanted to say. This is an extremely trying time, and a lot of us, a lot of us are going through challenging things, and sometimes it's one right after another. And I wanted to talk about the concept that all is turned to the highest good, because this is, for me, this is what I intend in my life, and it goes along with the concept of dark to light also, that the darkness is always eventually turned to light, that challenges in our life end up to have a silver lining. I was talking to a friend about this, and I was talking about, all is turned to light. I probably was talking about something that had happened. And it's interesting because she thought about it for a few seconds. This is a person who knows a lot about what a lot of people have been through. She said to me, "That's true for you, Susan. It's not true for everyone." When I heard her say that, I realized that what she was saying was true. And what I saw stretch out in front of me was this series of lifetimes and lifetimes. And that for some people, it may be lifetimes for the highest good to work itself out. And the fact is that we're living in a time where everything is quickened. The pace is quickened. And if we intended, it doesn't have to be that way anymore. It can be almost in the moment. But one of the things that this is it's almost like a renegotiation of your soul contract, a renegotiation with the soul. But it's really more of, now we're awake and we get to have that conscious co-creation with God, with the divine, with our soul, right? The spark of life that we are, that incarnated us here, right? The body is a living temple of the soul. We can have a communication there and say that I intend in my life for the highest good to unfold for in every instance. Even when there are challenges, they'll be turned to my highest good. And this is the way the light works in my view. But that's what I realized, is that what my friend was talking about was something that could be shifted and changed. That if the situations she was thinking of, if one applied the intention that they would be turned to the highest good in alignment with divine will and with divine grace and ease applied, we can ask for that in our lives. We can ask for that because we deserve that. We've really been through enough, haven't we? There's no need for further suffering. We can alleviate that by simply asking our guides, praying for ease and grace. And, I wanted to put one more example in here and then end, which is that, one of the things that I've been doing the last several weeks, and I've been getting my life together. And it's something that is, it takes an application of effort, right? To say, hey, things have been out of whack, or this happened, that happened. I want to get my life together, and I want to recenter. I want to reconnect with the divine. I want this to be the guidance for my life. In doing so, I face the challenges that I face, and then I ask that the highest good that whatever the challenges are, they be transmuted in my highest good, in alignment with divine will. It's interesting because sometimes I have to watch over time, and what happens is I go with how I'm impulsed or guided, right? By my spiritual guidance coming through my heart, by prayer, by communing with my soul connection. And I go along with that guidance and But sometimes it'll take some time for me to see, why was I guided to do a certain thing this way? And I was just amazed over the past couple days. I realized that I had been dealing with a situation, and a friend of mine got sick, and I realized that I had had several of the symptoms that she was talking about, and I realized that basically that there had been mold in where I was living. And it's interesting because I've also been thinking about this COVID. I've been pondering about how has this been, where has the highest good unfolded here? Like, where have there been surprising upsides to this? Where has it been turned to the highest good? And it just hit me this morning and last night that my desire to shift and react to that potentially saved me from a potential huge potential illness with this mold issue, because that this was in the environment, especially at the beginning. For several weeks, I was taking loads and loads of all these kinds of vitamins and other alternative type things, but I've been taking specifically a natural antibiotic, antiviral, that it turns out also addresses mold. And I've taken it for weeks. And recently I thought, I need to take that again. And now I know why I was guided to do that. And of course I had, friends that I consulted with. And I'm so grateful for the ability to ask questions about what's the right thing to take and that sort of thing. But I realized that if it weren't for COVID probably saved me from like a terrible mold illness. Isn't it fascinating how these things turn out? But when we're acting in alignment with our inner guidance, right, we don't always know why. It takes the courage and the desire and the commitment to just say, I'm just going to go with this, even though I can't explain to my friend or another human being why I'm being guided this way. What I wanted to say was that faith is what protects us in these times. I had a great conversation with a friend about this yesterday. And I love this image here because this woman is looking at the sun. And for me, the sun is representative of the soul, or my connection with God. Okay, the light that I am, and I can see it outside of myself. It reminds me of God's light. But here, the thing that's so gorgeous about this image is that you can see all the ways in which she is affected by light, and her environment is affected by light, right? Look at her her hair is all lit up. You can almost feel the warmth on her body. Okay, the ground is being warmed by the light. The hills are gorgeous and green. But you can't see the sun in this photo, okay? There's too much brightness here to know whether the sun's down here or it's a little higher in the sky shining over the hills. You can't see it. And that's the thing about faith, okay? We can't see our connection with the divine in sort of material terms, unless you're one of those people who's had an angel manifest to you or some other miraculous happening like that. Usually faith is something unseen, but where it shows up for us, and I talked about the idea of patterning 2 or 3 videos ago, it shows up in the pattern, in the evidence. Right? Where's the evidence that the sun is shining? Well, I can see the green here and the dark of the trees here. The sun is clearly shining on this part of the scene. Her hair is highlighted here and darker here. I can clearly see there's evidence that the sun is shining, although I can't see the sun. Okay, and I can extrapolate from that she has some kind of beautiful warmth on her skin, and it must feel so good. And there's a general feeling of both contemplation, maybe a little sadness or reflection, but also joy in this image. And these are all things that are intangible. But it's our faith that gets us through in these times. And it's our desire and our willingness to rely on what is intangible, what is often felt but not seen, what is perceived, but we can't always rationalize it. Yet if we're willing to trust our perception, if we're willing to trust that our knowing, then faith will get us through.